Episode 90. Create, enjoy, for all. Introducing Rory Davies on the BTS Creative Academy podcast, Uncut. With me, your host, Martin Colton.
I've got a water for me, but I haven't got you anything. Are you good?
I'm all good, yeah.
Yeah?
I'm good.
Okay. So, we're in. So, thank you, Rory.
No worries, absolute pleasure.
Thank you for inviting me to the Playhouse. We're in Studio
One.
One.
It's a ballet studio. Used to be the cafe.
Yes.
As probably most people know it as. It's had a bit of work done to it over time. But
Yeah. Perfect space for a studio. Nice and bright.
yeah, home of Harlow Ballet mainly. But have different people using it different days. Decent space. I mean, like a lot of the spaces in the Playhouse, they've been transformed from something else over a long period of time.
Yes. Like you say, this was once a cafe in here, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
I think that's like same on the ground floor. You've got Studio 2, which also was a cafe or restaurant. Don't know how many food and beverage offers the Playhouse used to need, but obviously quite a lot.
Yes, yeah.
So yeah, long term, hopefully you actually get some studios that are designed to be studios, but for now, does a job.
Excellent. Well, before we get into it, before I start giving you loads of questions, I've got a little tradition with this.
Yep.
That starts off. Do you know the tradition?
I don't.
You don't? No, you
I'm
don't.
excited
Some
now,
people
though.
do. Some people know it. It's so basic. Basically, it's a clap after three. So we go 1, 2, 3, clap. 1, 2, 3, and then we go. We're in the podcast. And that started because I don't have a clapperboard and linking the
I love
sound
that.
and the audio. But people seem to enjoy
I
it.
love it. I
It's
love
just
it.
such a basic thing.
Put a smile on your face to start.
There's a smile on your face, like, oh, I'm going to be part of a tradition. This is nice. So, so how are things going for you at the moment? How are things here at the Playhouse?
Yeah, exciting, nice and busy. We just got over a successful panto season, which was really good. Lots of audiences, which is obviously the aim of it, and lots of happy young people leaving the building, which is always what I like when we're seeing the panto. I think actually sometimes it's really nice to be involved in the creative journey of a pantomime, but actually the biggest rewarding thing is seeing people leave happy, having their Christmases like made for them, and just being part of people's family traditions is really nice.
Yeah. So for anyone listening in that doesn't know you,
Yeah.
you're the artistic director at the Playhouse.
Yeah, so I'm artistic exec director here. So I've been doing for about 7 years. Prior to that, I was the theatre's capital projects manager. So looked after a lot of like the regeneration, making the building a bit better. But yeah, I'm enjoying the role.
What's the difference between the two roles of what you were and what you are now? Because I know you've been here a long time,
Yeah.
haven't you? You've been here. I remember you young here.
Yeah, so
I'm having flashbacks of being in a pantomime here, and you being like 14, 15.
Yeah, you're
Could
right.
That be right?
A bit younger.
Younger than that.
So I actually started volunteering here when I was 11.
Wow.
First show that I ever did was Playhouse Theatre Company's Wizard of Oz, which was really cool, really nice experience to be involved in that at such a young age. So I volunteered in the technical department for a long period of time. I then left and went on a short tour around the country with Wizard of Oz again. Apparently,
The same show?
Different one.
A different one.
Yeah,
You just found another Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, like Wizard of Oz seems to be the first of all of my career changes.
Right. Okay.
But it's cool. It's a fun show to do.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, and then after that came back as a technician. Did that for a couple of years. Was promoted up the ranks into technical manager. And then took on this new role that was created, capital projects manager. So at the time, the council had come to an understanding that the Playhouse needed some money spent on it. It hadn't been maintained for a long period of time. So that was that role. I looked at making sure that basic stuff like floors were in good conditions.
Yeah,
and
the roof wasn't falling
roof
down.
weren't falling down, electrical infrastructure's in. Did that for about 2 years, and then came the opportunity to take on the director's role. Really new for me, particularly on the artistic side, business side of it, running the businesses, dealing with money, all sort of basic things that I'd done as part of the capital role, and deputising for the previous director. So that those type of things, the staff management are easy, but actually, oh no, all of a sudden I'm responsible for making sure that the artistic delivery of the venue is good as well.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping I've done that over a period of time. We've got better.
It sounds quite an amazing journey from an 11-year-old to being here volunteering on the technical side of things to now running the place and you're running like every aspect of this venue, you know, the community hub of the town, community and cultural arts hub, isn't this place? And you're leading that. So take me back to when you're 11 years old, and what made you think of coming into here to volunteer? Because that's quite a thing for an 11-year-old. Because you know, a lot of them are just hanging out on the street and
definitely.
So what made you walk? What made you come in?
So I actually was involved with the Playhouse for a little bit longer than that. My mum runs Harlow Ballet School, so I actually started doing ballet when I was about 8.
Okay.
And I think over the period of time, watching at the time Henrietta Bramwell backstage, calling the shows and stuff, I think I sort of was interested in that.
Rather than the ballet itself, right? Okay.
Yeah, I think I was like, it's all fun being on stage, and I enjoyed it, but actually I don't think that was me at all.
No.
I mean, people probably have seen me in like your Harlow posts and stuff, and it probably looks like a lover from my picture everywhere, but actually I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate being in front of people. I hate all that stuff. So actually, naturally, I think I had that want to be backstage. So yeah, I think that's really what.
So was you doing? So did you stick with ballet for a while?
Yeah, sort of. So from 8 to about 11, I was actually in one show when I'd also started volunteering in the technical department, which obviously for the then technical department was hilarious for them. But yeah, I sort of, once I'd started the volunteering, that was the road to it really. I didn't really look back and want to be on stage again past that point. No,
it was just you sort of found your thing.
Yeah.
And that's quite special to find it at a young age, isn't it?
Yeah.
You found like, what was it about it? Was it the technical stuff, or was it something to do with the community? Where was it you was finding yourself?
There was a lot to do with the community aspect of it. I really enjoyed being a part of like this backstage hub of people. I think for me, I just really love the magic of what happens backstage. It's such an exciting experience, and being able to just be part of that is incredible. Like from supporting local groups, putting on their shows, lighting that for what is actually ultimately sometimes young people's first time on stage, and being able to be part of that is brilliant. But also being able to, I suppose going back to the pantomimes, being able to be part of creating such a magical thing at Christmas is a really exciting time.
So when you were going back to school, was you like, I know where I'm going? I know what I'm up to. Was it very clear that you knew what you were up to?
And I think actually that was my teachers probably hated me for that.
Yeah, of course.
I knew what I wanted. I knew where I wanted to go, and I actually said something like this. I give an award out at my former school, Passmore's, and I did a speech before I go out the last award, and I said, I think what the teachers used to hate is because I knew where I wanted to go, knew what I wanted to do, and ultimately wanted to really be the principal, not wanting to be told what to do, because I knew where my journey was going.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I was probably a bit of an annoyance for her.
So you're at school and you know where you want to go. So is that within at that point? Is that within the technical part of theatre?
Absolutely, totally. Like where I'm at now, never saw myself in this role. That was at 11, 12. This was never part of my journey. I always sort of.
And when I feel like I really knew, I think you were involved with a few of the pantomimes that I did, where I was chorus and things. I knew you as a technician.
Yeah.
Climbing the ladders, putting the lights up, and I knew that, and that was clear. That so to go from that to where you are now.
Yeah, and I think for me, and my journey was it. I wanted to be the technical manager. That's what I wanted, and then I think as time went on, I was in that technical manager's role. I was like, well, what's next for me? Do I want to be a technical manager somewhere else? Do I want to go and work in town? Do I want to be touring? I didn't really know at that point, but I think for a long time it was always focused in technical. It was only really when the opportunity suddenly arose here that I thought, well, maybe I could do that. And for a year I was doing it as an interim role and had support from another colleague that also had stepped up at that time.
That's what I was going to ask you. Was there someone guiding you through this?
Yeah, I think I've learned a lot from different people along the way, and actually across regional theatre and particularly in Essex, there's some really good networks and some people you can talk to. And I think you touched on it earlier, actually, this is a hub of the community. So actually the support of the community is really like powerful in making sure that you're delivering the right thing. If you listen to the community voice, you're going to have your audience, because they are your audience. So yeah, I think, but yeah, I did go into the role with someone else initially, and did that for a year, until substantively taking it on my own. But yeah, no, I think just there is, in theatre as a whole, and I think you'll probably see this, everyone has got a willing to want to help someone else on their journey. And I think that's something I'll definitely take with me for the rest of my career, and want to help people as and where I can.
There's definitely like a tribe sort of feeling within theatre, I think.
Yeah.
There's definitely like this group of people that want to come together, and we used to putting on a show, a production that we're together with a group of people for a short period of time, but we're all working towards the same end goal.
Yeah.
And it is I see it as like a team sport.
Definitely.
You can't do it as a solo individual. You can try.
Yeah.
But it's going to be really hard. And then we take them things that we do with the show into like the other aspects of life, or into our businesses, don't we?
100%.
And I guess that's what you've kind of done.
Yeah, I think it's really important to go on a journey with a team of people, and that team isn't just the people in a building doing the work, or the people you employ, the actors you bring in. It's the audience that you want there as well. But that team, they are a massive part of it. Particularly with even touring work or one night shows, you need that audience to be part of your team, because they're the people that are going to talk about you. They're the people that are going to come back. So yeah, I think team's a really good word for it. Yeah.
And what about the team that you've got here now? What's that team vibe like here at the moment that you've got behind you?
They're incredible.
Yeah.
That I've got a really, really good team. Playhouse has had a really good team for a good number of years now. And it's a pleasure to come to work. It's a pleasure to work with them all. All got very different skills, very, very different areas. But yeah, fantastic team to work with.
And I definitely get that sense when I come in here these days. In theatre sometimes there's a bit of drama.
Yeah.
Isn't there?
Always.
Like
Always.
with theatrical people, there's a bit of drama that goes on here for some strange reason. But I do get the sense when I come in here these days that there's a good vibe going on. The people, you walk up to the box office, everyone seems happy to be here. Yeah. Everyone that's working on the show seem to be like they're genuinely pleased this is the place that they work.
100%, and I think that's the thing in theatre as well. I think when you're not happy with it anymore, when you haven't got that passion for it anymore, then I think that's time to look at something else or do something else. And that's not saying that someone might lose their passion for it forever, but I think it is one of those industries where you have to have that passion and that want to do something almost for someone else the whole time, because ultimately teams that are working in the theatres are responsible for entertaining other people.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So what do we do when we sort of start to lose that then?
I don't know. It's hard to judge really. I think if we start to lose that passion and we slog our way through it, ultimately the end product we're creating isn't going to be that good. I think if you do lose a passion for it, I think my biggest advice is somebody take a step back, take a break, whether that's a week's break and you take some holiday and you go on a bit of leave, or you go, actually, I need to stand away from this for a minute. Theatre's something people will always come back to. Yeah. And I think if you're back in it when you're passionate about it, I think that's the most important place to be.
100%. I recently felt that myself. Last year, I was in a place of feeling like I wasn't getting anywhere with all the things I was doing within theatre and acting and stuff. And I didn't consciously choose to take a break, but I took a moment, like a pause.
Yeah.
To like just do nothing. And then within that doing nothing, refound myself.
And do you think you found yourself into the niche that you really want to go to now? Is that
100%? Whereas before I was trying to force something. I'd spent a long time doing the acting thing, almost 20 years, and hitting my head against a brick wall and almost getting somewhere, but never quite crossing the finish line. And but I feel that all of them things that I learned along that way are skills that are transferable to this part that's after the pause, this moment of pause of stopping and not pushing and pushing and pushing. The moment after that, everything seemed to fall into place.
And I think you'll probably agree with this, but do you now feel that you can deliver theatre, you're just delivering theatre in a different way? I don't think there's any confines to how theatre should be delivered. There's no one size fits all, or this is how you must do it and do it in the conventional way of standing in front of a stage. Actually, a lot of audiences that will enjoy theatre are digital by default now. So actually being able to provide a digital platform, that must be an exciting chapter.
100%. Like you say, the world has changed. The world is very different. We can't just say that we want to stick to how things were 100 years ago, because everyone else out there is not like that.
Yeah, exactly.
They're all doing something new, and there's a whole new generation that are consuming media, entertainment in a different way. I've got 2 young kids. They consume everything through their phones.
Yeah.
And if you want to be part of their world, then maybe you have to embrace their world. You have to embrace the changes. Otherwise, I think you risk just being lost.
Yeah.
You risk just fading away.
100%. And I think one of the key things here, so I set up the vision, mission, values and goals following a staff away day. And one of the key things that come out was relevance. And you've got to keep buildings relevant. If that's the fabric of where you're at, buildings have got to be relevant. But also your art form's got to be relevant. So with that break that you've taken, you've probably reassessed and gone, well, actually, what's relevant? And how can I continue this relevance?
So how do you keep this place relevant?
Really hard. No, I think we have to look at our audiences. We have to look at the demographic of our audience, what people we've still got coming, what new people we want to engage. And one of the ways that we've seen doing that is choosing theatre that's got a social conscience or a really important subject matter. So last year we produced a play called Wreckage, which is about grief, particularly in the LGBTQ plus community. And that was really popular. We started that here with the Sport of Arts Council. We then were able to go to Edinburgh. We did a month's run at the Turbine in London. And really exciting, first place to hear it actually is going on a tour later on this year.
Nice. Where's the tour?
We're doing
around the country?
Cities. It will all be studio-sized spaces, so sort of like the 120 maximum capacity. And we've got venues in Manchester, Norwich, Brighton. We're doing another short run at the King's Head in London. So yeah, some really exciting things have happened from that play. But that's when I sit down with writers and they pitch me shows, I'm always looking for something that actually is relevant to communities. We know that everyone at some stage is going to experience grief. So actually being able to provide something, with all of these shows work with charities that support that particular subject matter. So this one we're working with a charity called Cruise Bereavement. In other shows we've worked with domestic violence charities, we've worked with LGBTQ plus charities. So yeah, it's always linking that back to make sure the audiences are safe, performers are safe, but also providing really good high quality art at the same time.
Why is that important to choose a subject matter that is relevant, like grief? Why is that important?
I think because actually theatre should be representative of communities, and every day someone has experienced something different. So if they can feel their experience listened to on stage, and that's relevant to their lives, and might be stories that they want to hear, and actually impactful in the way that some of this can support people overcome subject matter such as grief, or get people to stand up and report incidents or issues that have happened. I mean, as part of like volunteering and being part of the community, I'm also the chair of the independent advisory group for Harlow Police. So actually I get to understand quite a lot of the underrepresented, underserved communities, and that theatre can play a really important part in telling other people's stories and providing them with support, and not necessarily support in like the conventional way of how can we actually help you. It's that support of them in their own mind and their own body to be able to go, I feel listened to because this has happened to me and I can see myself in that situation. So I think that's why that's...
I think for me, that's the core of why theatre is important. The core of what theatre has done for my life.
Yeah.
And done for the people's lives around me. Not just theatre, entertainment in general. When entertainment works, it's something that touches you, something that resonates with you, something that makes you think.
Yeah, and I think you've always got a... With that as well comes a particular responsibility when you're casting the show. You've got to be representative in that casting for the community that's walking around out on the street as well. If you're not representative of the communities, you're not portraying a true vision of that story or that life.
So how do you get a good representation of the community that, like you say, you're taking a show on tour. This town's going to have a different type of community to the next town.
Yeah.
How do you get a good feel for that?
I think that's the key of that is down to auditioning and casting. When we audition and cast, we like to, where possible, spend as much time with the actors as we can before making those decisions. That would then really tell me and the creative teams that I employ whether that person feels like that they're a fit. Whether do I feel that person, I can see them walking around Harlow? Do I see them sitting in Wetherspoons having a drink?
Yes,
That's the type of things that we're looking for. Obviously, talent has got to be.
Well, that's really interesting because from someone that is an actor, been an actor, and knowing a lot of actors, you get caught up in the talent and the skills that you've got, and you work a lot on that, but you don't always get told to work on yourself. And you're saying there, being yourself is really important to how you choose to cast someone.
Yeah, and we've got to be representative of the different communities that are in the town. We've got huge, different, vast array of people from different countries, different ethnicities, different religions, some might identify as LGBTQ+. There's lots of different people, and actually all of those people have to be represented by the performers that they see on the stage as well.
Yeah. So as an actor then, what's the best thing that we can do then when we're entering an audition and we're looking at parts to do our best to be part of some kind of community?
I think a lot of it is around... It depends. It depends what role you're coming in for, what type of show it is. If I'm looking in a room, a lot of the stuff that I deal with is more around the pitching of a brand new show, or a theatre company bringing something to me and saying, we would like to do that. Now in that, I want to see that people have, and a lot of these people obviously are actors coming in doing this, I'd like to see that there's been a bit of research done about the area. Why is it important to me? Why is it important to the audience? The more people can talk about the audiences, and I can appreciate that they've got an understanding of it, the more connected I feel to their show at that pitching stage. And ultimately they've got that responsibility to make sure that whatever I'm bringing in is going to be enjoyed by the audience. Yeah. So for them to understand the audience when pitching is a really important thing.
And maybe some kind of embrace within everyone's normal everyday life of embracing different communities.
Yeah.
Of not just being within your own circle, but actually trying to find out what's going on in other groups.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the other thing that's important to say is this is going to sound crazy because our vision is to be for all, but not every show has to be for all, because that's not relevant, because not everything is going to be relevant to each different person, but it's about building that program of stuff that is as diverse as possible so it can be as relevant for as many as possible. So I think if someone's coming into a room and saying, it's right, my show's for everyone, that's not, because it's not the same for the 2-year-old walking down the street as it is for a member of our senior safe and social. So I think it's being clear about who your audience are, because everyone has an audience, and your success will be measured in it. Have you hit that audience right?
Yeah. So how do you feel recently there's been a thing with the Arts Council have changed some of their funding criteria? Do you know about this? And Equity are trying to deal with it at the moment, that they're talking about the political angle of shows, that if it doesn't match with their political message, then they can look to strip funding away from from projects.
Yeah.
How do you feel about something like that?
I can start with by saying we're not core funded by Arts Council, so
Okay,
I can say what I like.
Yes, yeah.
On the whole.
Yeah, okay, good. But you do look for funding,
Yeah,
don't you?
I do look for funding.
And it's important within the arts that funding is available, because we all can't do it as a hobby, can we? We can't all do it as just a passion project. Some of us need to pay our rent, pay our bills, and projects cost money.
100%.
To happen. It costs money to turn the lights on and the heating on, and to get people in that room. So we do need funding. It's not a...
We definitely need funding, and actually the funding that we require, and a lot of places require, is that ongoing revenue funding. Lots of big capital projects will happen, and big shiny new buildings will happen, but actually it's really important to make sure that we've got the core revenue funding to continue that. So Arts Council, and they've got a great national portfolio organisation programme, which is brilliant. There's lots of other arts funders out there that are brilliant: Paul Hamlin, National Lottery, Communities Fund, lots of places that we've tapped into before and that have helped us and really helped put the Playhouse on the map for its journey. But yeah, for me personally, when it comes down to managing political statements, political comments within arts pieces, I feel like when it comes down to funding, we shouldn't politicise that. We shouldn't be putting arts organisations at the centre of political football. That's not what arts organisations should be there to exist for. I personally don't like political work anyway. Obviously, it's current affairs. There are going to be bits of political nature in different shows. That's just how life works.
Yes. And coming back to that storytelling thing,
Yeah.
maybe trying to get people to look at things in a different way, or not being... I fear that we're living in a world where we've got mass media, mass news coverage, and a lot of them clearly have an agenda.
Yeah.
And so the population is often being force-fed a way to think. And I'd like to think that places like theatre is an opportunity to think differently or question
definitely
stuff.
And express. Definitely.
So what happens when we put rules on that expression?
It limits it, and it's a really hard thing. I'm here for like people being open and people being able to express themselves in however they want. That's the idea of theatre. But yeah, hard question actually.
It is, isn't it?
Into what to actually say or to how to think it. And I literally only picked up actually that yesterday in an article that had popped up. So yes, it's one of those things that I think over the next few months I'm going to have to probably really digest that and see what my thoughts are, but also look at that picture for producers and artists and see, is it going to change their work? That's a question to be continued, I think.
Yeah, and I find it, I just find it a worrying place to go to, because even when we put them limitations on in a small way, then things tend to snowball.
Yeah.
It has happened before in history, where these limitations have been put on us as creatives, and we start saying, no, you can't say this, you can't say that. And even I think it's important to embrace stuff that you don't agree with as well. Go and see a play that has got a message there, so you can try and understand why they think like that.
Yeah.
Why they think the opposite to you.
Yeah.
Because if we only just consume stuff that suits us,
definitely,
then what are we gaining from that?
And also, I think the other thing to think about with it is, if I was to make my programming very one-sided for either or whoever, then I'm going to completely ostracise a part of my audience, because another part of my audience isn't going to agree with that. So I think that's where it links back. Whilst not necessarily every show will be for all, the programme's got to be so varied that it actually becomes for all. And I think that's the way that if we limit things too much, it takes away that ability for people in roles like myself to be able to provide that for all programme.
Going back to the ethos of this place, what is the overriding message again?
Our strapline is to be the cultural heart of Harlow, and we want people to have creative, enjoyable experiences that resonate for all. We also want to make sure that we use our venue that we have to be first line intervention for people. So a lot of this came from, I worked with our associate artist Rhiannon Faith on a project called I Talk to the Clouds and They Cry With Me, which was a show about mental health, particularly looking at men's mental health between the ages of 35 and 46.
That's the dangerous place.
Yeah.
I'm quite aware of the statistics around that age. Is the number one cause of death is suicide.
Yeah.
And that's
scary.
tragic and scary. And I'm in that bracket right now. I'm in that bracket where, and I've experienced how bad mental health can get at this point in a man's life. You're a bit younger than me, but we do all experience mental health, don't we?
100%. And I think that's why it was important for us to do that show. And alongside that, we worked with a psychotherapist. We put in, we called it the Cloud Hub, which was an empty shop unit in the Harvey Centre. We painted it completely pink, had ball pits in there, did feeling sessions, sessions with psychotherapists, and then also encouraged people to watch the art that we'd created, which was very meaningful. And what the aim of that, and I suppose the ethos and the aim of what we try to do, is we appreciate there's a lot of pressure on frontline services across the board, such as the NHS, such as the police, fire service, ambulance service, and apologies to all of those other services that I will have forgot about in that statement. But actually, if we can do something through art and through theatre to help those and relieve a bit of pressure and be that first line intervention, then that's a success. Working with, I mean, even in Harlow, working with charities such as Rainbow Services, they've established every Monday and Friday a senior safe and social. So that's getting our older residents together in a place to be social with each other. I mean, as we speak, they are probably just above us playing bingo, which is great. And actually, it's a fun version of bingo. It's balloon bingo. So
nice.
It looks great. It looks great. I always walk through to go up to my office and I'm like,
how does that work? I feel like that might be quite scary for the OA pit. Pop in the balloons as they get.
I don't actually know how it works. I just walk past and I'm like, this looks like fun. Why have I got to go to my office now? Yeah. But yeah, so that's always something to give it a go.
So I guess with what you're trying to achieve, it's quite hard to measure the results.
Yeah.
However, you are in a unique position to share some results. Have you seen a result from what you've put out there?
I think it's really hard to see the results in that transfer into have we actually reduced people going to the frontline services, but have we increased our audiences coming to that type of theatre? Yes. Have we increased people using us as an inclusive hub? For example, we have a recovery group that use us. We have different sort of groups that are working with the support services using us. So if I measured it in our success in the increase of those, then yes, I would say we're flying high on a successful position with that work. But yeah, like I say, actually finding out, have we saved that one person? That's just one of those impossible things that I'll always just have to keep in my head as a hope we have.
Yeah, and I strongly believe that you would have done, from what I've seen and from what I've experienced in my life, that the arts are very important, and they're important. Could you imagine a world without the arts?
No, it would be really boring.
Could you imagine? I don't think it'd even just be boring. I think
we wouldn't be sitting here and we'd both be jobless or doing some really boring job.
Yeah, and
somewhere.
Then I know, you know, he's a controversial figure in history, Winston Churchill. I always think of him when he was going through the Second World War and leading us through that. And they said, why? You know, the government said to him, why are we still funding the arts? And he said, well, what else are we fighting for? What are we doing this for? What is the purpose? That's why we need to continue funding.
I think as well, and the bigger picture realistically is it's that secondary economic development to a town that having an arts institution brings. It's the nighttime economy spend that increases. There's a lot of different secondary spend routes that are supported and helped by arts. That was so clear in the lockdown, particularly in the central London, at the Home of Theatre in the West End. I'm pretty certain a lot of those businesses around some of those bigger theatres had a really terrible time trying to attract their clients back.
And whilst, you know, sport's important for communities as well, we definitely contribute just as much to to the economy that sports do, if not more.
I don't want to get my facts wrong,
No,
but I do think someone did tell me once, and I think we do actually contribute more than sports.
Yes, yeah. I think it is like literally twice the amount. But again, I'm being careful because there are keyboard warriors out there that tell me the figures are wrong. So yeah, but we definitely contribute to the economy. That is definitely a fact.
Yeah.
So it isn't just all us playing games. We're actually doing something for the economy, if that's what's important, but for our communities in which we live.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing our Panto director says every year, which I stand by, and I feel like this is the key way of contribution or how success is measured. When that 3-4-year-old turns up, sits in that auditorium, experiences theatre for probably the very first time, sitting and watching a pantomime, and then goes through a career of maybe starting dance classes or theatre classes, and then potentially is the next big star or chooses that as a career, that's changing their life immediately. That's straight away bringing people in. So I suppose the purpose of why the director says that to the company is because it's our job to give that really, really high quality, good show to potentially change that young person's life.
Yeah.
Whether that change of their life is that smile on their face, or I mean, this year it was advertised, but we supported a young lad who was going through a bit of a terrible time with his health, and actually it's so rewarding to see a smile on someone's face that's happened to put up with that horrible stuff in the outside world, to actually sit in a theatre for 2.5 hours, be entertained, enjoy yourself. I think that's the successful measure.
Yeah, and come away from that. There's lots of different things that can be going on in the world out there.
Yeah.
But you can go in there into that auditorium and be immersed into that world.
Yeah.
And particularly a pantomime. Why I think pantomimes are so great is because there's so much fun, so much good, positive energy coming from that. And it resonates. It doesn't just end at that 2.5 hours. It goes with them. And I'm thinking about when you were saying that about that moment of a child, I literally in my head went to my first theatre experience was in this auditorium, seeing Sooty and Sweep.
Yeah.
And that has set the foundations for the rest of my life. Seeing that show, sitting on the side, looking at that world, and again for that short period. It was only that short period of time, but everything that I've done since has come from Sooty and Sweep. Has come from that one experience.
Every child should be able to access the arts in some way, shape, or form, and I think we've spoken quite a lot about being in the main auditorium or being up in one of the conventional theatre spaces, but actually sitting here in Studio 1 or going into Studio 2, if being involved in a dance class is your happy space, that's great. If being involved in theatre classes makes you happy, then do that. Participation, I think, sometimes is super key. Like, I never attended drama classes myself, but from working with young people now that do attend some of our drama classes here, the positive impacts that has on social interaction and mental health is incredible. So actually, those are the really positive things. You might never see some of those children up on stage. They might never want to do that. They might not actually regularly attend as audience members, but if we keep them safe in an area for an hour a week, that's really important. Or just giving them a break from, exactly as you said, the outside world, and putting them into one space for just that hour. I think that's super important.
So what are you doing these days to bring in people into the world of theatre? That's particularly those young people that you mentioned, people like yourself that started here as a volunteer, or people like me that started here with the Young People's Theatre 20 odd years ago. What are you doing to bring people like us here?
So that work is largely done by our resident companies. So we've got 6 resident companies. I won't mention them all by name because I'll forget one, and then I'll get in a lot of trouble, and they won't hire me ever again.
But for instance, for an example, I've had on my podcast, I've had Sam Ashford, who runs Livewire, an amazing company doing great work with the young people of this town.
Yeah.
So and they're one of the resident companies.
They're one of the resident companies. So they run. You've got the Livewire Vocal Collective, the Livewire Music Collective, the Livewire Theatre Group, Livewire Dance. Sorry, Becky, I've definitely forgot you.
So these different groups, they're all looking after different elements of the performance side. So one's dance, one's music, one's acting. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's obviously one group providing 6 to 8 classes a week just here, and obviously outside. Go back and listen to the other podcast. You'll have heard the other stuff that Livewire do.
Mm-hmm.
But also you've got, and I'm going to try it now actually. You've got Harlow Ballet, which teach with us every week. You've got Hip Hop Pop, just setting up for their show next door now. Teach thousands of students each week. Razed Roof, who work with an inclusive theatre company, who work with participants that have disabilities. Down to, we've got Rare Productions that provide youth theatre opportunities, so opportunities to be in a junior version of We Will Rock You, or a junior version of Hairspray, etc. PQA running Sunday Academy classes, and I'm really hoping I haven't forgot anyone, but yeah, and on the whole, there's so many different people using it, and that there's hundreds of opportunities for young people to be able to get involved. Or older people.
Yes, yeah.
A lot of these people teach adult classes.
Yeah.
So.
Because often as you get older, I'm noticing this. You can start to look in on things and go, "Where's my inclusion within the community? Is my life older now? I've reached 40. Like, is there anything that I can be included with?"
Yeah, 100%. You've got CM singers. That's a great group to be involved with. Livewire, Sam has toyed with adult classes before, so watch this space on those. Harlow Ballet run adult classes, Hip Hop Pop run adult classes. So there's a vast array of opportunity definitely for adults. We're just about to relaunch our Aerial Academy. So some of your listeners might know that we used to have a workshop out the back with paint frame, where we used to paint and build all of our sets. A few years back, we transformed that into an aerial studio, and we opened up our own Aerial Academy. So we teach hoop, net, silks, high intensity bungee cardio. So that is actually something we're looking to relaunch after Easter. So
nice.
Yeah, that should be.
So there's loads of things to get involved with here, no matter what your age. And there's also the front house teams as well.
Yeah, we're ushering. We have all of our ushers are volunteers. They give up so many hours, so many hours. So yeah, we're always looking for ushers. We have a huge casual pool of staff that could be involved from front of house, technical crew. We're always looking for people. And actually, a lot of the groups that sit up with us upstairs, so like the Senior Safer Social that I've mentioned a couple of times, or some of like the other groups that use our inclusive hub, I like to call it, they're always looking for volunteers, and there's always bits going on. We are launching a few different schemes that we've been successful for funding on, which I can't go into a lot of detail around it yet, but again, that will hopefully bring in more people. I've just recently had a Harlow resident who's gone off to study at Rose Bruford on a placement with me. We've got a trainee programmer with us who is a Harlow resident that had been and has finished at Rose Bruford. One of my new technical team, I taught them at Passmore's when they were at school. They've now joined and got a career with us. There's another young person who I taught some technical theatre to when they were younger, who's now one of our more senior technical staff. So there's a lot
You're doing some amazing things.
A lot of people transforming as well. And a lot of opportunity is given to people. For example, probably one of Harlow's favourites, Silly Billy, who people see in Panto every year, is my technical manager throughout the rest of the year.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Like I know Silly Billy. I've done shows with him. Do we mention him by real name?
Yeah, we can say Ben.
Ben. Like I've always known him as an actor, but he's transferred over to the technical side. And is he your technical manager?
Yeah,
here?
technical manager. Yeah. So lots of transferable skills.
You don't have to put yourself in one box, do you?
No.
And you seem to be embracing that with people.
Yeah.
And I guess that comes from a place of where you've been someone that's been technical and turned into this managerial artistic role.
Yeah.
You've done that yourself, so you're now embracing that within others.
Definitely, and I encourage it. A lot of our bar staff have all got acting careers or have gone off to train, etc. So yeah, I think let people do what they want. let's hope. I say that now, and if any of my staff are listening, it's not let everyone do what they want, but it's no, encourage people to try different things and take on new things
and embrace something new, something different. Give it a try.
Yeah.
So what would you say to someone that is that is completely outside of this world, but they're looking to get involved? Why should they?
I think it's probably one of the most rewarding experiences that you'll ever come across. They're just that. Do you know what? Even just a backstage tour, I think if that's the way someone wanted to get involved, it will change the way they think. It's just so magical that moment of being stood on a stage or backstage. Yeah, I think it's just a life-changing experience that people should participate in whichever way they possibly can, whether that's being an audience member, whether that's supporting your local theatre by attending their cafe bar and having a drink there, or actually wanting to get a better understanding and be in shows and enjoy that side of it. I think theatre really is for everyone.
And it's funny you mentioned that backstage thing. So my absolutely life-changing moment, my crossroads moment at 16, was coming to the Playhouse. My friend had talked me into. I was at Passmore's as well. And my best friend, his mum worked here on the box office, and he talked me into coming to be part of the youth theatre company here. Yeah. And he basically said to me something along the lines of, I'm the only boy and there's 30 girls. And I'm in this youth theatre company, and I was like, I don't want to do like theatre. I don't want to do. I'm going to be in the army or the RAF or something like that. Like theatre's like not for me. And he's like, look, these girls, they don't know me. They don't know you. It's like you can be someone completely new and have like a fresh start. And he'd like proper talked me into it. Anyway, I turned up here, and he was supposed to meet me at the front door, and he wasn't there, and it was all closed. And this is like such a big memory for me. On the front door, there was an arrow that said, come round to the back if auditioning for the show. So I go round to the back, and I've never been in here through the back way, through backstage. Back door's open, I go in, I'm like, hello, like no one there. It's just like a complete darkness as well. And I go up the first lot of stairs, I'm like, oh, I'll see through here. And I peek through, and that's going through to the main auditorium. Yeah. And I walked out onto the main auditorium, and it was the strangest experience. There were the lights on, like the theatre lights, but complete darkness everywhere else. So they were like setting up for some show, and I just walked out into the middle of the stage, and no one else was there. But I remember this moment of like goosebumps looking out into the auditorium, looking at it from a different perspective, from this angle of that's where everyone, and I could see it, like no one was there, but I could envisage the auditorium filled with people and these lights beaming down on me. And I remember just having this moment of like, this is something I want to be part of. I want to experience this. Yeah. Of what it's like.
It's really hard to explain, isn't it? That moment in your head that just go, I can't explain the feeling of it.
It's like, I think you put it perfectly. It's seeing the world from a different angle.
Yeah.
It's seeing it from a lot of people would have come to see a show when they were young, and that meant something to them. Like when I saw Sooty and Sweet, that meant something to me, watching that and seeing that world. But then, like maybe 10 years later, having that world flipped around the other way and being on the stage and looking out into the auditorium makes you go, ooh, and question this, and oh, I want to be part of this world now.
Yeah.
You know.
I think like so you were saying earlier about my staff having like doing different roles and trying different things. Like that's right for you as well, isn't it? You've done so many different roles in theatre and experienced different things. Yeah, like overseeing venues as well.
Yeah. So I look after the Victoria Hall Theatre in Old Harlow, because that's a place that I found and embraced me, and I feel so lucky to have access to. And it's a wonderful small little community hub that runs itself. Yeah. You know, it's run by the community for the community. No outside funding. We'd like to get outside funding, but essentially it's kept going by the community. And that going back to the importance of community.
Yeah, and like you can see that how much in Harlow people care about their theatres.
Yes,
Like
yeah.
both venues have got a good audience base and a good draw and a good support from the communities, haven't they? So I think actually it's really nice to be able to sit and chat with people like yourself, and actually it's reassuring of how much support Harlow's got behind its arts community.
I think it's because we put it out there. I think it's because we put in the effort, and I think that's embraced. I think people can see that. I think, like I say, when I come into this building, I feel like this building is very welcoming. So in return, you want to kind of, as an audience member, you want to give something back, and you want to keep coming back when it's got that vibe. And I hope Victoria Hall's got that same
100%,
vibe as
and
well.
the seats are more comfortable than our Playhouse ones. So
I like it so much when people say that, because there was a bit of controversy over them seats when they got put in, because they needed funding. They were quite expensive, and people were like, oh, is this really the right thing to be spending the money on? But people say how, from the audience perspective, that is quite important.
Audience experience is key. And actually, the hardest thing with, and you'll know this from Vicky Hall, old venues and trying to make them perfect for today's audience experience is just impossible. I mean, I'm sure we'd all love to be able to build brand new shiny theatres that would work perfectly for everyone, that have got enough toilets, that have got toilet cubicles that are big enough.
And disabled access, like it's an old Victorian building. Disabled access is quite difficult, and actually this is quite an old building. What was this built in the 70s? Yeah. So this is before, this building was built before they really considered disabled access.
A lot of retrofitting has had to happen here, and obviously retrofitting is costly, but also they built, and I think listeners that go to the West End will see this, they built these massive theatres, but they didn't build the front of houses to accommodate the number of seats that places have, and that's definitely reflective of here as well. From the outskirts, it looks like there's a big front of house area. As soon as you've got 400 people in there,
it's tight.
Yeah, it gets really tight. And then if you put a Theatre 2 show on as well, you've got 620 people trying to cram into a bar. My poor bar staff are there trying to get up and down a bar, which isn't very big.
Yeah, I do like having been coming to this venue for 20 plus years, I've seen a lot of different ways that it's been tried to make it work. I really like how the concourse looks upstairs now, with the books and the sofas. It feels very inviting.
Yeah, and I would love to take the credit for having chosen that, but I actually can't take the credit for that bit. I can take the credit for it in my capital projects role, putting it in. But yeah, no, I can't take the credit for it. But yeah, no, definitely it opens that space up and lends that self to be more used, which is important. And part of me, when I looked at the bar area, which I can take some responsibility for, I really wanted to get rid of that wall. There used to be a wall that sort of made going out to the concourse feel like, well, are you allowed out there type vibe. But yeah, that for me, front of house areas need to feel big and open, and people need to have that. You don't want people to second guess, can I go there? It should be, it's open, go there.
The natural flow through.
Yeah.
So this is a good place to start talking about the future of this venue.
Yeah.
I know that there's lots of potential changes happening, is that right?
Yeah, definitely. I think from a building perspective, lots of changes. Harlow Council were successful in their bid to the Levelling Up Fund. So that's £20 million to develop a cultural quarter, which will see regeneration to the front of the Playhouse. It doesn't. There are minor changes happening to this building, nothing major, mainly cosmetic. But outside, we'll see a new bar and box office area that would function for this space, multiple studios, a music school, and some flexible performance spaces. So really trying to open up that program more as well, and being able to be home to all different types of stuff. For example, I'll give an example. There could be one night you could have some live music on in like more of a less theatrical feel setting, and then the next day you could have a cabaret or a comedy club. So that more vibe of the feel. And
we lost that in the town, didn't we? We used to have the Square, which just sadly disappeared.
And to Square fans, which I am also a Square fan, I did regularly attend the Square. I'm definitely not replacing the Square. It definitely won't be that.
But it'll have the opportunity for live music.
It will have
again.
the opportunity, yes, 100%.
Because sometimes on a big auditorium space where there's fixed seating, it doesn't always lend itself to a smaller band.
Yeah.
Very good for like a cabaret act, an abattoir or something like that. But a local band.
Exactly right.
Where do they go now?
This is hopefully going to be a good home for those people, but also I feel like there's a name for, in Harlow we don't really have a big classical or jazz musical audience. There are little bits of it happening around the town, but actually to give a town centre location to some of that, we started a partnership recently with Saffron Hall, based in Saffron Walden, and Essex Music Services, and they're running their Saffron Sounds project across schools at the minute. So actually we're trying to develop a slightly different music audience as well, really pushing that for all message and trying to get different styles in there as well. I think the outdoor spaces that the new quarter will bring as well lend themselves to busking type vibe, outdoor festivally feel. Obviously it's not a huge space, but having some outdoor presence and making public art just accessible on that doorstep really opens up the accessibility and hopefully the footfall, and eventually the people being able to participate or use the space as an audience. So yeah, from like a capital or a building project, right? Yeah, there's definitely lots going on, and people will see lots of investment. And I know colleagues at the council are working hard to push these plans through as quickly as possible and actually get the regeneration work started. Long term, I think the Playhouse is in a good position. I think the future will be exciting for the Playhouse. It's got lots of potential. It's got lots of place to go. There are options that, should the money be found, redevelopment could happen, and they're really clear, really exciting plans. But I think actually, sort of going back to what we said, if we can continue with the support, and I'm grateful to all the audience and all participants for their support, if we continue to get that support, Harlow Playhouse will just continue to grow naturally, whether that's in capital, whether that's in what the building looks like, or whether that is literally just in the performances being able to continue to grow in that way. It will be a successful local, regional, community venue for a long period of time.
Why is that important to the town?
I think having Harlow Playhouse embedded in the town is so important to just life and well-being, and having that, I think it goes back to what we were saying earlier, just that place that people can escape and find theatre. I think the other thing is, with not having spaces like this, what do the 3,000 young people that come through the doors a week do? Where do they go? So I feel like it contributes to that positive community, and I'm probably going to sound a little bit like Sam from Live Wire now, but it helps create positive young people in our communities.
We're echoing the same words because we feel so passionate about it, because we've seen it ourselves and we want it to continue, don't we?
Yeah.
And we want this bright, positive future, not just for ourselves, but for the people that are around us, for our communities.
And I want the Playhouse to be here for a long time after me. This building's got, I'm not the first artistic director, and I won't be the last by any stretch of the imagination. And actually, whatever happens in my career, wherever I go, whatever happens, if I'm living in Harlow, it would still be great to be able to see this place thrive. And even if I'm not living in Harlow and I visit Harlow because that's where I'm from, and I'm always going to visit Harlow, my family are all in Harlow, I'd be gutted to ever turn up and not see this as a thriving building. And likewise, not see Vicky Hall as a thriving building, not see St John's Arc as a thriving building. There's so much arts and culture going on that whether I'm not here, I'm here and in the centre of it like I am now, I always feel like Harlow has got so much potential, and the community deserve that to continue and to grow.
So that's your hopes and dreams for the Playhouse and the town.
Yeah.
What about yourself? What's the future look like for you?
I don't
What
know.
are your personal hopes and dreams?
I don't know. I've having been a Harlow boy, obviously, I can honestly say that this is probably like my ambition's been met. having the opportunity to run this place has just been insane. And like, I'm content and I'm very happy. But I also understand there comes a time where you do have to move on, and you do have to let someone else have a go and let someone else try.
Why?
I think it's important for the venue. I think it's important for the programming. It keeps things fresh. I think if you look around the country, a lot of regional theatre chief execs, ADs do move on after a period of time. This isn't me resigning either, or saying that I'm going tomorrow.
No, we're talking. We're just thinking out loud, aren't we?
Thinking out loud, and I do feel that maybe I do have something to give to another community or another area.
Because I guess there is a peak of what you can achieve here.
Yeah.
And maybe, like you say, within your life you have a lot more to give. So maybe if there's a town that isn't doing so well, that you can take what you've learned here and transfer that and build another community up. Maybe that's a potential.
And I think I'll always be invested in Harlow. I think it'll be really hard not to be ever invested. And I think actually it will be like letting go of something that, it'd be like letting go of a dream, because this is, now that I'm in this position and never having thought that this would be the case, actually I know that I'm in a job that I just love. It is the best job in the world. I can tell you that. And actually coming to work is super enjoyable because of the people and the communities. So yeah, whilst there might be other stuff for me later on down the line, I feel so heavily invested in Harlow and in the Playhouse at the minute that actually let's carry on. Let's give some more first.
Let's keep giving. So last question then.
Yeah.
So if you could go back to that 11-year-old kid that walked through the door here the first time and tell them what you're up to today, what would you say to them?
I think I would say, it's really hard because there's different parts of me that would say different things to me.
So what part of you, from a career aspect?
From a career aspect, I think I'd say to myself, Rory, one day you're going to be responsible for budgets, so maybe concentrate a little bit more in maths, so that you're not having to go, oh no, what does this mean? No, that was definitely a big learning curve for me, taking on big budgets. Something that I'm actually good at now, so finances are all good. But yeah, no, I think actually for me, concentrating more at school is a good thing. Definitely concentrate more at school. But I think the other thing that I'd say is to myself, and actually this I suppose is to any other 11-year-old out there, if you've got a dream and you've got something you want to achieve, just keep going for it. And when different opportunities hit you, don't necessarily go for the plan. Take those opportunities, grasp those opportunities, because you're probably going to love it. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
That's wonderful. I was going to take it to a personal aspect, but that kind of is on a personal level as well. Would you say so?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Personally, I'd say to myself, you will enjoy what your career is to come, and yeah, that is what I would say to any other 11-year-old.
Brilliant. This has been wonderful, Rory.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
No, thank you for inviting me here. This has been lovely. I'm so pleased with what you're doing with this place. As someone that has received a lot from here, from this. It's strange, received a lot from the building. Yeah. But you don't, do you? You receive a lot from the people within the building. And it's so nice to see that there's someone like you in charge of the place and looking after it going forward.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
No,
and likewise, thank you for speaking to all these people, because actually you might be in other ways starting people's careers, and that's really exciting.
I appreciate that. And I like to end with saying I appreciate if anyone is watching or listening. We appreciate you for joining us on this conversation. And if you'd like to hear more conversations, do you know what they need to do?
You're going to have to do it.
It's really easy. They just like and subscribe. And that way they don't miss out on future conversations. And thanks again. Thanks again, Rory.
Cheers.
Thank you.
That was the BTS Creative Academy podcast, Uncut. If you'd like to find out more about the BTS Creative Academy, just search BTS Creative Academy. And so that you don't miss out on any future conversations, don't forget to like and subscribe.